Welcome back to the Shankly Sessions, folks, the Liverpool podcast we bring you as part of the upper tier. If you could subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button and drop a like on the video. Liverpool podcast today, big game coming up the weekend, massive kind of 4 days for us. Man City and then Newcastle, two pivotal games in the title race. Arsenal, of course, today entertaining West Ham, and then obviously Nottingham Forest on Wednesday as well. So there could be a huge swing here, depending on what way you look at it. Can Arsenal beat West Ham and then go on to beat Nottingham Forest away? That remains to be seen. If they do drop points, are we going to be in a position to take advantage of that? A lot of anxiety in the fan base at the moment. People really concerned about what's kind of unfolding, ratcheting up more and more talk about the contract renewals. And, you know, we always knew that Trent was probably on his way out the door. It looks like that's probably going to happen. But a lot of talk that Virgil van Dijk hasn't even had an offer and they're just simmering on it and stuff like that. There's another report out yesterday that Mo Salah has had one offer and they've lowballed him on the money, offered him way less than what he's on right now. We're not inside the club. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what the discussions are and all that kind of stuff. So it's when these things leak out, it's very reactionary in the fan base, you know, and we're reacting to a lot of stuff at the moment, and in some ways I'm very disappointed in the fan base as well. We seem to be getting a bit uppity about things that we shouldn't really be getting uppity about. We seen the Champions League draw yesterday against PSG, and although we won the league table, it kind of felt for some people that we were nearly being punished because we got a tough draw against PSG. Unfortunately, PSG and some of these teams just didn't perform in the league table, so they found themselves down there. So there was always going to be that opportunity potentially for that to happen. But I thought we were Liverpool Football Club. So what are we worried about? We go to Paris, we play them there. The second leg is at Anfield. I don't know what people are getting overly concerned about. And at some stage in this run in the Champions League, you're going to have to face more difficult teams. So why not do it now and hopefully knock them out, you know? I think what's kind of more disappointing in it is the fact that the English teams have all been drawn on one side of the draw, and how that might affect the coefficient if all three were to kind of go out and stuff like that. Now, that feels a little bit weird, and as we said, we've really enjoyed the league phase of this because it's been a real treat to not have to play the same team twice, which means it's kind of gives us an insight into Arne Slot as well, where he has to week in, week out in the Champions League prepare a team in a slightly different way with a different tactic against a different team. So you're not relying back on going, okay, we played Dortmund over there and now we're playing them on Anfield, this is the way the game's going to go. So it's kind of refreshing from that point of view. The round of 16, the qualifying stages was kind of interesting. There was obviously some big teams in there. Man City obviously went out, and we'll get on to talk about that in a minute, of course. And it's left us with PSG. But I don't have any concerns at all about us beating PSG over two legs, especially with the second leg at Anfield. Assuming we have a full team, assuming we're not absolutely devastated suddenly with injuries or any of that kind of thing. I think what is concerning at the moment in the team, that when I look at it, is we're starting to let draws kind of creep in now where we should be getting wins and stuff like that. I mean, we shouldn't really be coughing up that goal to Tarkowski in that last minute in the Merseyside derby is kind of unforgivable. And remember, when we look at these draws as well, look at Aston Villa the other night as well, you know, when you really look at this, there's so much talk around Darwin Núñez, and you know, I couldn't believe it the other day that the fan base was coming out talking about how Szoboszlai should have took on the shot himself. He absolutely put it on a plate for Darwin Núñez, and he turned a 50-50 chance into a 99% chance. On another day, a calmer forward who's in control and not void of confidence just slots that into the back of the net. He doesn't try and burst the net and put the ball into orbit, and that's really what happened. And when we talk about, so much talk about Darwin at the moment, and I think a lot of the talk and a lot of the hate and a lot of the pile on social media and stuff, we forget he's one of us, he's our player. And that's what gets forgotten. And we don't see the same pile on when we look at Diogo Jota, who missed plenty of chances. We don't see the pile on Luis Diaz, who has had a massive drop off since Christmas. You know, we don't see the pile on other players when they miss. But we're also not discussing as well what's going on defensively and how we're leaking goals. And that's a little bit concerning as well. But yet there's no discussion about that because it's Virgil van Dijk and all this. So there's some players at the moment that are a little bit immune from criticism. And then there's other players where the narrative suits. And it's a little bit concerning that way as well because they're all our players. And there's no doubt that there has to be criticism of Darwin Núñez. And I think the biggest problem with Darwin Núñez is I don't think he'll ever be an elite forward. I think the issue with Darwin Núñez is if you compare him to elite strikers out there, he's a very emotional guy. And in those key moments when he should score, top elite players and strikers have an ability to turn off that emotion and be absolutely cold-blooded in the moment. And I don't think he has that. I think when he's in that moment, everything's going through his head. I think he's about to strike the ball and he's thinking the fans, he's second guessing himself, he's questioning everything. There's a million things going through his mind, and what's not going through his mind is that decision making in that key moment to just put the ball in the back of the net, just slot the ball home. He could have just literally clipped that ball in. It was an empty net. Instead, he's trying to burst it. And when you see forwards and strikers doing that, it means they have no confidence and they're second guessing and questioning themselves all the time. So when he arrives in that absolute moment to put the ball in the net, he's a million things going through his mind. If you're Robbie Fowler or you're Ian Rush or you're Mo Salah or you're any of these players, in that moment there's nothing but the ball in the back of the net. They just go into that zone and nothing else around them exists. Not even the fans. Nothing exists except that moment of putting that ball in the back of the net. And the thing of the difference as well is, and Slot alluded to this as well, is one of the issues with Darwin is when Darwin misses a chance, he knows there's going to be a pile-on. He knows that's going to be blown up massively. There's going to be huge criticism. You seen him the other day. He walked off. He took his jersey off. He walked off to go down the tunnel. He couldn't even face the fans. And a lot of people were saying, oh, his attitude stinks and stuff like that. I'd say it was more embarrassment than anything else because he knew he had an opportunity to win that game and he didn't take it. And like that's a chance. That's an unforgivable miss. We heard Robbie Fowler talking about it. And you know, if we don't take on board what someone like Robbie Fowler, who's done it all, who's been unbelievable, who's scored every type of goal, absolute legend at the club. If we don't take on the talk and the criticism and the points that he makes, well then where do we go, you know? But it looks like from the outside looking in, and again we don't know anything, I think Darwin is going to be very important for us between now and the end of the season. And I think at times he will score key goals. We've seen Brentford. I think he will score key goals, and I think it's really, really important. Now is not the time to pile in when we're feeling a little bit of pressure and a little bit of anxiety and results aren't necessarily going our way. And in some respects we're feeling a little bit sorry for ourselves because what we're doing is we're playing games where we're creating so many chances, and because those chances sometimes aren't hitting the back of the net, there's a kind of an anxiety building within the team as well, and it's a kind of a feeling sorry for yourself at times. And that's why we see situations where we can be absolutely electric in the first half, create loads of chances, and we think, right, this team's going to come out, at least two of these are going to hit the back of the net inside 15 minutes in the second half. And then the second half we come out and we look like a totally different team. We drop back, anxiety builds, we get nervous, you know, whereas before we were very capable of protecting a lead if it was 1-0 or 2-1 or whatever it is. Now there's an anxiety to get that result over the line and get the 3 points because it's so important. And we get that because we're in the business end of the season now. We are top of the league. Arsenal are sniffing around us. They have an opportunity today to close the gap to 5. Obviously we're playing City tomorrow. And those kind of things are creeping in. But one of the things I've noticed as well in this 4-2-3-1, and it's an interesting one as well, at times when we break in the transition and we attack, one of our most forward players at times is Alexis McAllister. And I've noticed then, if you've noticed in a number of games, this is where Ryan Gravenberch comes out of games and he's anonymous and he doesn't be seen, and people are saying, "Oh, what happened to Gravenberch today?" No, or the opposition breaks really, really quickly, and Ryan's exposed because he's on his own, which in turn exposes the back four, which in turn, if you look at a lot of teams, when they break, a lot of teams in their first couple of efforts, even their first effort, results in a goal. And a lot of that is because they're breaking in a transition where we break down, and suddenly Alexis McAllister might be one of our most forward players, which in turn exposes Ryan Gravenberch. And then you see Dominic Szoboszlai having to put in such yards and such work rate. Like, if you look at Dom is box to box all game. And I think that's a little bit concerning as well, and it might be something that we need to look at, because I don't necessarily buy into the fact that Ryan Gravenberch's small drop off has been because it's leggy and there's games catching up on him and stuff like that. I think it's more he's getting more exposed because Alexis is becoming more of a kind of an attacking midfielder, and it's leaving Ryan a little bit exposed, and then they can play through him so easy, so he comes out of the game. We've spoken before about how positional sense is so important, but not only positional sense, but who's your dance partner beside you and how important that is. We've seen it when Virgil's in there with Konate, it's really, really solid and it works. We've seen sometimes when Kwanzaa's come in, it's a bit more nervous. We've seen when Joe came in, it was a little bit more nervous. It doesn't feel quite the same because he's your dance partner. And I think it's the same with Alexis and Ryan. So when teams like a Villa break really quick in that transition, Ryan's kind of there on his own because Alexis has been the guy who's either tried to create up there or get on the end of it there. And you can see by McAllister the amount of goals and opportunities he's on the end of, that he's not necessarily in that position to get back in there to be able to support Ryan. So when they play through, then you're seeing a back four, there's a nervousness in the back four, which ultimately leads to an opportunity. And we've had a lot of opportunities over the last number of games where teams could have scored. Alisson, how many one-on-ones has he saved and stuff like that. So at times we've kind of rode our luck and got away with it a little bit. And I just wonder, is it the way we move forward and how we attack in numbers? And again, I look at attacking in numbers as well, and at times when Mo picks up the ball and wants to put the ball in, or on the other side if it's Cody or Luis Diaz or whoever it is, we don't have a lot of players in the box. You've Dom maybe arrives, Alexis goes in there, you might have a Jota, you might have whoever it is, but we're not really attacking with that wave of numbers, which means the ball in the box has to be so precise. Now don't get me going on balls into the box, because I think our final ball into the box is horrific. I also think our delivery of corners at times is horrific as well. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how many times I watch us that we can't beat the first man and stuff like that. So it's really, 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 really concerning. Now we get on to the City game. Let's talk about that, because this is obviously pivotal. And I think, and we spoke about it on Thursday, myself and Darren on the show, I think if we beat City tomorrow, I think that lays down a huge marker in terms of the mentality thinking of Arsenal. I think they will look at that and go, it's going to be really, really tough, because they would look at that City game as being a game where we would potentially either drop points or get beaten. That's what they would be looking at. Because I think by the time the Arsenal game rolls around in May, I don't know how significant it will be at that stage. So I just think it's really, really important that before we go into this international break, plenty of games ahead and stuff like that and all, but I think we really need to start racking up the points. We need to really start getting results over the line. We need to tidy ourselves up a little bit. But we've kind of lost our way a little bit and forgotten who we are. And I think that's the concerning thing. I see that confidence in a 2-1 to be able to see it out for 20 minutes has kind of evaporated a little bit. And I think it started as well. I think the Plymouth game was pivotal as well, because I think with the Plymouth game, I think we made too many changes. And I'm not necessarily saying whether we should have stayed or not stayed in the FA Cup and all these games, stuff like that. And I'm not saying he did pick decent players out there that should have done the job and they were really disappointing. And I think it's really, really important going forward now that we look at that and be careful going forward on those type of things. I think that's really, really, really important. And I think that's kind of where it started, because we say in this game as well that momentum is so important. And when you look at momentum, that Plymouth game kind of sucked the momentum out of us a bit. So it's really, really important to try and get that momentum back. So over time we will do that, and it will kind of come together again. We will go again, we will get results, and this anxiety might go away. But it starts tomorrow, and we're hearing Pep spoke about Haaland being out injured. I don't believe it for a second. Pep is the master of talking absolute bullshit on player availability. I just don't believe a word out of his mouth. Haaland will play tomorrow. If Haaland was any concern about playing tomorrow, he wouldn't have been on the plane to Spain. That's it, and he wouldn't have been in the squad against Real Madrid. Now they're going to feel hurt. They're coming off a real tough game against Real Madrid, and that's going to be really, really tough for them. So they're coming in. Obviously, John Stone's out injured, Akanji out injured, Oscar Bob out injured. But Edison has the chance to register an assist in 3 straight Premier League appearances, which is absolutely unbelievable for a goalkeeper. For us, obviously, Cody Gakpo is a doubt. I think Cody is so influential and so important to us. Cody's one of those players that we have relied on when kind of Mo hasn't showed up at times, or if Diaz hasn't delivered, or if Jota was struggling, whatever it is, or Darwin. Cody Gakpo has been that guy, and now we talk about Cody Gakpo, we don't realise until he's out of the team what he gives us. So it's really, really important that we get Cody back as soon as possible, and I'd love him available for tomorrow. Obviously Joe is out with the toy, Tyler Morton's out as well, and Bradley looks a doubt now going off. Mo Salah is also bidding to create another bit of history. He creates it every week at this stage, Mo Salah, which is so disappointing when we hear about the contract renewals. Just outside the club, we just can't understand it. It's glaringly obvious what needs to be done. But he has an opportunity to equal Steven Gerrard's 14 goal involvements against Man City. Gerrard has 14. But Mo Salah is on 13 at the moment, so he could reach 14 tomorrow with a goal or an assist, which would be really, really cool. If you look at the teams, then where do we go with them? You're looking at Man City at the moment: Edison, Lewis, Diaz, Ake, Vardiol, Gonzalez, who has come in and looked excellent. Savinho, Silva, Foden, Marmouche and Haaland. That's what they're talking about. Now, if they go with that, that's really, really strong and really, really attacking. But we know they've had a slump. We know they haven't quite knit together. We know how dangerous they can be. We've seen them absolutely pump Newcastle. Give them an absolute footballing lesson, and it looked like the City of old. But then you go in against Real Madrid, and look, we know more. Liverpool fans know more than anyone how Real Madrid can absolutely make you look ordinary at times, and they made City look really, really ordinary. Little bit of life in the kind of first leg, but once it went to the Bernabeu, the Kylian Mbappe show, he absolutely. And I looked at the Real Madrid, I looked at that game, and like, it looked as it was men against boys. It was like the difference in the speed and the movement and the transition and the playing of the passing and the passing, the treading through and stuff like that. No, was just totally different level. So we're going to go in obviously with Alisson, Trent, Konate, Van Dijk, Robertson, Gravenberch, McAllister, Salah, Szoboszlai, no doubt Diaz and probably Jota. And where Jota can create a little bit of havoc in there and stuff like that. This could be an opportunity for Darwin Núñez to come off the bench and right the wrong. And I think that's what we have to understand as fans. Whereas we would be disappointed on a Wednesday with Aston Villa missing that chance 100%. But there's always that opportunity to make it right. And it has to start with him and his mentality. He can't afford to be that guy that now misses chances and then just sulks over it. If you look at Mo Salah has plenty of chances in a game. But the one thing you'll say about Mo Salah is he keeps on going and going and going till he eventually gets that assist or eventually gets that goal. With Darwin, when he misses, it's like he wants the ground just to eat him up and he wants to disappear, which obviously affects the game as well. And Slot spoke about this, and I hope he's been working with him on this week, because we can ill afford for that to happen. Prediction for the game: I'd love a Liverpool win, naturally, but I think it's going to be a score draw. And I think we're either looking at a 1-1 or a 2-2. And, under normal circumstances, you would say, that's okay, that's a point away at City. And even the Villa game. Villa Park, a really tough place to go. It's not like we haven't gone there before and got absolutely beaten and pumped. Emery doing a fabulous job there. The players he's brought in, the squad that he's constructing, looking like a Champions League squad now. So hats off to them. So these are not easy places to go, but it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, we'll have one eye on the game against Arsenal today with West Ham, praying that West Ham can get something out of that game, which alleviates the pressure on us a bit. But let's see. It could be a point swing. This next 4 days could have a massive impact on the title race. So we shall see. But Reds, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Let us know how you're feeling at the moment. Are you a little bit anxious? Are you a little bit concerned? Why are we coming up with stuff? Why are we letting ourselves down by coming up with stuff like inflating the fact that we've drawn PSG? So what? Let's get on with it. Get out there. Get the job done over 2 legs. Why are we looking to nitpick between Szoboszlai and Nunez and who should have shot and who shouldn't when he put it on a play from? It's a ridiculous conversation. You know what I mean? I think now the onus is on us to get behind the boys, support all the players, and stop really showing our backside to rival fans the way we are at the moment, because it's not our way. Never forget who we are. We are Liverpool Football Club. We're top of the league. We're in the Champions League round of 16. We're in the Carabao Cup final. We should be going out there and getting these things done. So until next time, folks, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button. Also, drop your predictions and your lineups in the comments if you want, and we'll talk again real soon. Hopefully the Hammers can do the business today, and hopefully we can put the citizens back where they belong tomorrow. Cheers, folks. Up the Reds.